This is Julie Pearson, Little Thunder with the Oklahoma Oral History Research Program at Oklahoma State University. Today is September 7th, 2023, and I'm in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, interviewing OSU alumnus Ryle Robinson. Ryle, you attended OSU and made a successful career as a CPA and recently celebrated your 90th birthday. Congratulations, and thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Okay.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Alva, Oklahoma, and my folks moved to Medicine Lodge, Kansas when I was 4 or 5, and I grew up actually in Medicine Lodge. Came back to Oklahoma. My folks moved back to Alva, where they came from, and I finished high school in Alva, and then went to Oklahoma State after I graduated there. But,
So Medicine Lodge is kind of a historic place. What was it like growing up there?
It's situated at the confluence of the Medicine River and Elm Creek. And history has it that a peace treaty was signed at that confluence. They had every 4 years they had a celebration, the peace treaty celebration. It was a big production. Cowboys and the Indian, covered wagons and all that, but
Interesting.
that's what the town was named for, Medicine Lodge.
Right.
They had a Medicine Lodge on the river, but anyway, I was there until my sophomore year and transferred back to Alva.
Mm-hmm.
My folks moved back to Alva. When I was junior and senior year in Alva, graduated there. But,
What did your folks do for a living?
my dad was a butcher. He started that as a career back in the 30s, and in later years he went to work for Boeing Aircraft as an auditor. My mother was a cashier at J.C. Penney Company in Alva for several years, and then my folks then moved to Belle Plaine, Kansas. They both worked for Boeing Aircraft, but
That was after you were out of high school.
yes, yeah. But anyway, they money was tight during the years when I was growing up, and their move to Belle Plaine and Boeing was very beneficial for them. My younger brother and sister they had a different life than I did when I was growing up. But anyway,
What was the difference in ages? So there were three.
Oh, my
two
sister is 9 years younger than I.
Mm-hmm.
My brother was 6 years younger than I. So they came along late. I'm gonna say I babysat them
Yes, I imagine.
when they were growing up. But
Do you have any memories of artistic or musical activities growing up in your home?
Not when I was in Medicine Lodge. When I was at Alva, I sang in the men's quartet. I never played a musical instrument. Well, later on I tried to play the banjo, but that was I decided I had a tin ear.
Oh, I don't believe that.
Anyway, that was later on.
Right.
I about drove my family up the wall trying to learn how to play the banjo. They relegated me to a bedroom with the door closed.
Well, either at Medicine Lodge or Alva, what are some of your memories of your childhood? Just what things did you do for fun? How did
Oh,
you
my
and your
goodness.
friends entertain themselves?
Well, when I got older, I was, I don't know, 14, 15, I loved to hunt. I can recall getting up before school, and we hunted for ducks on farm ponds. And you had to crawl up on the farm ponds and come up over the dam if there are any ducks on the pond. And you should do that in the wintertime when the grass was frozen and wet and cold. At this day, I'm not sure why we did that. But anyway, it was I enjoyed that. I liked to quail hunt. My dad was a quail hunter. We had a dog, and always had a dog. My folks always had a dog. But some of my better recollections, I played basketball. I wasn't a football player. Didn't have the physique for it, but I played basketball at Medicine Lodge, and then when I moved to Alva, I played basketball down there.
Oh, so throughout primary school to high school, sort of, you played
Yeah, high
basketball.
school. Yeah. Well, I played on a junior team in Medicine Lodge when I was starting out. But anyway, I finally lettered in my senior year at Alva.
Well, neat. What position did you play?
Huh?
What position?
Oh, I was a guard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I wasn't on the A team. I was a couple of slots behind the A team, but I got to play enough that I got a letter anyway. So
Yeah. Great. What are your memories, either at Alva or at Medicine Lodge, of some subjects that you particularly enjoyed when you were in school?
Well, I must say I was not a good student when I was in Medicine Lodge. Moved to Alva, and
How old were you when? How old were you when you went back to Alva?
Well, I would have been 16.
Okay.
And I had kind of gotten away with not studying and not being a very good student in Medicine Lodge, but didn't know anybody in Alva. In fact, my junior year there, Oklahoma, you're required to take American history. And I sat in the back of the room with a friend of mine, a guy named Carl Schaefer, and we played the games with letters and tic-tac-toe and such and such. And anyway, he was smart. He passed the course. The teacher flunked me.
Oh.
That woke me up. The teacher that flunked me was named Luella Harsman. She taught my dad when he was in school in Alva. Anyway, I had to retake the course, of course. I got an A, but I finally learned that I had to apply myself a little better than I did. It's one of the things I know when I went to college. It took me a year to learn how to study.
Yes.
My grades were average, B's and C's, but then in my sophomore year, I was on the Dean's Honor Roll, from then on. And the last semester, my senior year, I took 19 hours and straight A. So
That's a lot.
I hit my stride when I was in college. Anyway, back to the earlier years. I'm just a general kid, I guess. I don't know.
A typical boy, not too much into school, but how did you end up choosing to go to Oklahoma State University?
How did
you end up choosing OSU?
Well, my folks didn't have any money. There's a story about that. They wanted their kids to go to college. And I got a job driving a tractor after my senior year in high school. I made a fantastic sum of $1 an hour. And the farmer had a lot of land that he farmed, and he said, "Son, I want you in the field at daylight." And he said, "I want you out of the field at dusk. And if you want to work more than that, it's up to you." I tell you, I worked at that all summer, and I saved enough money. I paid for my room and board, my books, tuition, and had a little left over for spending money for the first year of my school. Now, of course, I say that, but
So you yourself paid your way
the first year
with that one summer of work?
Yeah, but I worked while I was at college. I had 2 jobs. I made toast at Bennett Hall, where they at that time anyway, where the athletes lived. I up at 5 o'clock and go make toast for 2 hours. And then I had another job that I worked as a janitor in the life science building. And between those and the money I made in the summer times, I managed to pay my own way. My mother once in a while would send me $20, but I pretty well took care of most of that. I must say, I borrowed some money in my senior year. I was married. I got married between my sophomore and junior year. But no, I really enjoyed college. I've maintained over the years that I think that's one of the happiest times that I have had in my life. Was that time that I was learning stuff. I was pretty well on my own, making my own way, which meant a lot to me. But anyway, I kind of got off the track there a little. But
well, I'm glad you brought that up. I was wondering what maybe between your working, because it sounds like you were working quite a bit, and you're studying, what other things about school did you enjoy, or what did you enjoy about school?
Well, I turned into a pretty good student, and I was proud of that. I recall the first time I went to the library. I was a kid, but I thought, there's information in this library from the most intelligent people that have ever been, and it was an eye-opening affair for me. I love the library, and I didn't socialize much when I was in school. I pledged a fraternity, but that wasn't until my second semester sophomore year, and I was used to studying late at night till 1 or 2 o'clock, and I'd go to Swim's drugstore and get a cup of coffee. And I didn't have money enough to move into the fraternity house, so I stayed in the dormitory. And one of the members saw me there at the drugstore having coffee at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and that was punishable offense. You're supposed to be in bed by 10 o'clock or some such thing. So I depledged. I liked the guys and all, but it was just more than I was willing to put out at that time.
Right. What was the fraternity, or do you?
Kappa Sigma, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, was the.
Did
They weren't really interested in me until I started making my grades.
Right. Those good grades. How did you choose your major? Sounds like you were sort of interested, and you were definitely in different parts of the campus, and you were interested in a variety of
it's a
things.
strange thing. When I went to the university for the entrance exams, I don't know. They gave you a million questions on the entrance exams, and I don't know. They had the math in the exam, and I don't know. I didn't get. There were 100 questions or so, and I didn't get but 20 or 25 of the questions answered. I thought I did terrible. I was kind of thinking about being an engineer. And I thought, boy, if I'm that bad at math, I better give that up. So then I decided I'd go to the School of Commerce. It was the School of Commerce at that time, not the business school. But anyway, that's kind of the way I chose my career. And I enjoyed the accounting. The first 2 courses were kind of difficult, but after that, I sailed through, did some good work, and I enjoyed economics. I enjoyed geography. I got a minor in geography with the Air Force ROTC program. Had a political geography class, so I got a minor in that. But anyway, that's kind of what I chose to. I don't know, you make these decisions as you go along, and I have a policy of not looking back. You don't, you make those choices along, and you wonder at times if you'd chosen a different path, how things might be different. But anyway, no, I enjoyed college. And the university was good for me. I met a lot of good people there, and I liked some of my professors very well. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have.
And you also joined ROTC in what year?
Well, I started out when I was
you
a
started
freshman.
out, okay.
Yeah.
And that was that a little bit of a source of income too, or?
Not the first 2 years.
Okay.
The advanced ROTC, when you're a junior, you get a stipend of, I don't recall what it was, pretty modest amount, but
what prompted you to join ROTC?
well, you know, at that time, it was my family, most of the men in the family were military. They were in the war. And I thought it was a matter of duty, really, and I think, you know, a little off the track, but I think one of the worst things they ever did was do away with the draft. I think everybody, 2 years in the military, for men, you know, women today, of course, but then it was just men. I think 2 years in the military would do most everybody good, you know. Anyway, no, I did well in the ROTC. I was a distinguished military graduate, and I was a cadet, lieutenant colonel in the ROTC, and had an opportunity to be the student that led the ROTC, Air Force ROTC, and I turned it down. It required time, and I didn't think I had the time at that time to do that. But anyway, I like the ROTC. It's a good program, and to a certain extent, I guess, got you ready for to go on active duty, which I signed up for 4 years of active duty. I graduated in May, and it was I believe it was September before they called me up. I got a job. I had interviewed IBM at the university, and I was proud of the fact they only interviewed 10 people on the campus, and they offered me a job until they found out that I was going to go to the military for 4 years, and they said, "Come back and see us when you get out."
Oh, okay. And this was IBM here in Oklahoma, the campus?
They said it was the International Business Machine Corporation. It's an international company, but they, I don't know where, I think their headquarters were in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
Because they sent everybody back there for a year to learn the IBM way, kind of thing. And they weren't willing to take the chance and start me on that and have me pulled out. So I got a job at Boeing. I worked at Boeing 2 summers while I was in college, and I got a job in their accounting department. An interesting thing, they sent me a letter every month. Boeing did, telling me they wanted me back when I got out of the service. But,
IBM did, or?
Sorry?
Because you were at Boeing, was it IBM that sent you a letter every
No.
month? Oh, it was
Boeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, right.
Yeah. Anyway, they when I got out of the service, I started looking for a job. They were laying people off, and I went to flying school while I was in the service. I took my primary training in Edinburgh, Texas, and I opted not to fly jet airplanes. At that time, you had to choose one or the other. So I went to multi-engine school at Enid, and when I graduated from basic training, I had a commercial pilot's license with an instrument ticket. I could have gone to work for the airlines. I had some friends that had done that, but they were furloughing people. And I had 2 kids at that time, and I couldn't take a chance on that. So I went over and talked to some of my professors at Stillwater, and they gave me a couple of recommendations. One was to go see one of the oil companies, and the other was to go talk to somebody in public accounting. So I came to Tulsa and interviewed with a couple of accounting firms and went to work at a fairly substantial cut in pay from my Air Force. I mention that because that's the only time my stomach ever bothered me.
Gee.
But
And it was
I wake up in the morning, get ready to go to work, and look out the kitchen window and
Oh.
wonder where the bucks were going to come from, But anyway, it worked out. I enjoyed the service.
Did you travel very much aside from your training, or
Did I what?
did you travel much in the service?
Oh
aside
yes,
from your Okay.
I went to multi-engine school, and I went then to Charleston, South Carolina, and I was a line pilot for Military Air Transport Service. We flew from Charleston, South Carolina, into the Middle East, Morocco, Tripoli, and Saudi Arabia were our ports of call. They had a couple of trips periodically, one to Puerto Rico, that was a once a month thing, I think. And then they had a trip to Rio about every 6 months. Getting on that trip was hard because all the lieutenant colonels and majors would opt to go to Rio.
They wanted that one.
They finally had one on that was going to be there New Year's Eve, and I got on the airplane. So I spent New Year's in Rio in 1958.
Oh my goodness. Now, did Shirley and the kids, were they in North Carolina too?
Oh yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well,
With all those trips.
I met Shirley when I was working at Boeing in the summertime, between my sophomore and junior year. We had a carpool. My folks carpooled, and I was in their carpool to go to work. And she had gotten a job up there. Her dad worked up there, so she had gotten a job at Boeing. And we got acquainted, riding a carpool, and it bloomed into a romance. We were married between my junior and senior year. And moved into I'll tell you a little story about that. We moved into an apartment in Stillwater. The rent was $37.50 a month.
My goodness. And this wasn't married student housing, this was just a regular apartment.
It was much bigger than this area right here. But
Right.
Anyway, my in-laws gave me a 38 Chevy that you couldn't drive over 35 miles an hour. And my folks gave us $50 worth of groceries. And that filled the back seat. I mean, and I had $25 in my pocket. Neither one of us had jobs except my part-time jobs that I'd always done. And we went away away to Stillwater on a great adventure.
On a great adventure. That's a neat story. And that was your honeymoon, sort of.
Anyway, we spent 35 good years together. Had 3 wonderful kids. It was a good time.
Well, as you moved from, after you finished your active military and you, as you say, kept getting this letter from Boeing, I guess, was it, every month to join them permanently?
I was afraid to go to work for them because they're a good company, but they did a lot of military work in the, it was after the war, and it was in between the Korean War and the Vietnam War.
Right.
And they were I got out of the service 6 months early because they were having reduction in force, and they offered me a regular commission, but I had to sign up for another 4 years if I wanted to stay in the service. But I opted not to do that, and so I got out 6 months early, and so I was only in the service for 3.5 of my 4-year commitment. But anyway, it was an interesting time. My daughter was born while I was in the service. So was my son. My daughter was born in Enid, Oklahoma. They had it's strange thing. All these second lieutenants were there, and what used to be kind of a normal occurrence of events. Graduated from college, you either got married then or you got married before then. You bought a car, had a kid.
Right.
It was, and Enid, there were a lot of new graduates there. So they had a very active prenatal program there. My wife talked about the huge number of women that were there. My son then was born in Charleston, South Carolina. I had another boy after I got out of the service, 1960. Anyway, it was I guess a pretty normal life. I don't know.
Well, that certainly were a lot of great experiences, and then you ended up, I think, with your accounting degree, actually working for several. I think you mentioned you worked in
I worked for
Sinclair and for.
I went to work for a local accounting firm. It was a big local accounting firm, one of the biggest in Tulsa anyway. Our Warner Godfrey and Company. It was a good company, and I was with them for 5 years. And they sold to Arthur Young. Typical situation when one company buys out another. I don't know, there were maybe they had 30 employees, and of course the partners survived, and there were 6 or 7 of them, but one other employee and I were the only two lower employees that survived that. It was a different atmosphere. It was an up or out. At the end of each year, you got reviewed. They reviewed you after every job, and then those were accumulated. And they sat down, and as a junior anyway, you were either moved along or you left. Everybody knew it. It was a kind of a brutal thing, but everybody was aware of it. Anyway, I progressed from junior to senior, and then I was made a manager. I was sent to Phillips. They told me if I went up there and did that audit for five years. It wasn't that long, 3 years. They'd make me a partner. I ran into a problem there, a personality problem that I couldn't deal with, and that's when I went to work for Williams. I did the audit on a pipeline subsidiary up in Kansas, and Williams Pipeline was looking for a controller. So with that experience, and of course, Arthur Young Company, it's beneficial for them to have their people working for their clients. So they put in a good word for me. So I went to work there as a controller. And you know, I maintained I never had a job more than 3 years with Williams. I was a controller of the pipeline company. Then I moved to the parent company as a controller. And then at one point in time, I was the controller, the treasurer, and the treasurer. And I hired people to take those jobs, and I was then promoted to vice president of finance. I wasn't the chief financial officer. I was and at one point I moved to a subsidiary as an executive vice president, and I did that for a couple, 3 years, and went back to the parent company, and I was made a senior vice president at that point, and then I had a chance to go work on another subsidiary as a vice president of finance, and stayed there until I retired. I retired early. I retired at 55. I made a decision about retiring. My grandmother and grandfather lived in the hospital at Alva, Oklahoma. And they were the janitors. They mopped floors. And my grandmother died mopping a floor. I swore up and down that she was 65 years old. I swore up and down that I was going to do better than that. And so I retired when I was 55 and played golf for several years.
I know that was one thing that you really enjoyed. Where are some of a couple of favorite places that you played?
Oh, I played all over the country. Well, you know, we had deals with banks and insurance companies that we borrowed money from,
Mhm.
and they were always, willing to entertain you. So I played at some of the better golf courses in the country. John Williams and Joe Williams were both members at Augusta. I got to play down there several times, which
Nice.
not too many people do, but I really enjoyed that. And I played golf here in Tulsa at the Golf Club of Oklahoma for 20 years. I quit in 2013 and haven't picked up a stick since.
Well, while you were at Williams, you also started collecting native art.
I what?
You also started collecting native art when you were at Williams Companies.
Yeah.
How did you get interested in that?
You mean when I hired people?
No, when you started collecting art a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I don't hear so good. Anyway, I don't know. I was interested in art. Always admired people that were artists and had talent. But this woman brought art to our office, and I was impressed with her because she always had a portfolio of pictures, and she was had to make her way from home to sell those pictures. Her husband was a budding young artist, and I really liked his painting, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to do that. I did that while I was working. After I retired, I didn't buy any more, but my daughter has picked up that flag and is buying his artwork now.
Yes, and that you're talking about me and my husband Merlin Littlesender's work. But you also have a talent for wood carving, I understand.
Oh, I did a little wood carving. I carved a number of things, but that was the beginning. I've done a lot of things. I tried a lot of things. I was going to be a photographer at one time, and I tooled up for photography. I bought high-priced cameras and lenses and took pictures. I got 1 million pictures, but that faded. And but when I retired, I got a wood shop. I bought saws and other electric pieces of equipment. I had a pretty complete wood shop. I maintained at one time that I could build most anything. And I built chairs, tables. So that table right there is right there behind.
Oh,
That's one of
beautiful.
my. That's one of my. Anyway, I did that for, my goodness, 20 years. I always maintain that people that retire need something to occupy their time. And I love to play golf. I love the woodworking. I read a lot. So I figured I had enough things to do. But anyway, recently I gave away my wood shop to my sister's daughter's boyfriend, and I hadn't done anything for a long time. And I decided, well, I'm going to make something now. So I started making these little boxes. I had to rummage around and get tools again to help me do that. But anyway, that's what I'm doing now.
That's neat. You need to express yourself creatively, sounds like. You've also taken, while your parents were alive, you took very good care of them, I understand, your entire life.
I did the best I could for them. They had come into their own. You know, they had those jobs at Wichita.
By
And
the
they had
time.
retired. They bought a place on the lake. Oh goodness, that's my telephone. I'll let it ring. That's all right. Yeah, my parents bought a place on Grand Lake, and they drove from Belle Plaine down there on the weekends. We spent a lot of time down there. My kids learned how to water ski, and it was a nice place. My mother then got sick. They didn't sell their home in Belle Plaine when they moved down there. I encouraged them not to do that. I said, if you can't rent it, I'll make the payments on it so you can keep it. You might want to go back sometime. Well, she was diagnosed with cancer, and they moved back to Belle Plaine, and still had their house to go to. Anyway, they were doing fine. My folks did all right. I helped them along once in a while, but they're proud people. They didn't want much, you know. But
Well, how did you meet June? And how did you meet your second wife, June?
met June in a bar. The bar had a dance floor, and I was there by myself. And she had been working. She managed a couple of convenience stores in Claremore, and it was pretty late. And she came. She sat at a table next to me and asked me to dance. And that it went from there.
It went from there. That's neat.
She's a wonderful woman. She has Alzheimer's now. She's kind of tough, but we get along.
Well, with all your traveling, you probably didn't have time to make a lot of OSU sports events. Or have you made a
No, you know,
habit of doing that over
I used to be able to watch the football games out of my dormitory window. I lived in
Nice.
Cordell Hall. At that time, that what area down on that end wasn't filled in. I could sit. I didn't go to sporting events much. I was pretty busy. I've become a OSU fan. Years ago, they weren't very good at football. They, if you recall, they were kind of the format of the league, and I got started saying, well, maybe next year. I hadn't watched them play for a long time. Of course, they didn't have much television at that time, but
Right.
I decided to go out to. They're going to play TU here in town, so I bought a ticket, and I went to watch them play. And my ticket was on the TU side,
Oh,
and Oklahoma State took the kickoff and ran it back for a touchdown. And I jumped up and said, well, yeah. And there were 4 guys right behind me that were TU fans. TU then proceeded to beat Oklahoma State 65-7.
Oh my goodness.
And those guys rode me like a pony for the rest of that game. It was terrible.
I bet. Oh, bless your heart.
Anyway.
Well, I did notice that at your birthday, that in addition to
Oh,
acknowledging
yeah,
your
well.
90th birthday, there was a lot of OSU, there were OSU balloons and
Yeah.
OSU colors.
Well,
Did any of your kids attend OSU?
what? My
Did
kids?
any of the kids attend OSU?
No. I don't know why. But my daughter went to Oklahoma City University. She's a piano player, a musician, and there was a teacher there that she was interested in, and helped her on her career. She has done remarkable things. She played all over the world.
Yeah, she's a concert pianist.
Very accomplished, and she recently, in recent years, took over the music festival,
Newport.
classical music festival in the city where she lives, and brought it from they were $500,000 in debt when she took over as the president, and she fired the operating guy. He was kind of treating it as his pet place, and so she did the operations thing for 3 years, I think, 3 years, and she had a $100,000 salary, and she donated it all back to the festival. Today they're having a year-round festival, and they have $1 million plus in their kitty.
Oh my goodness.
So
That's amazing.
she did herself well there. I'm really proud of her. My son went to OU for a while, I think just to spite me. Then he came back and graduated at TU as a chemical engineer. He's a software engineer now, and he's doing very well. He's good at what he does. I'm proud of him. My youngest son, who died, went to OSU for a time, but he had schizophrenia, and the onset of that disease is between 16 and 21, I believe, something like that. And I hadn't a clue that that's what was wrong with him. He was over at OSU, and I went over, and his living wasn't stellar. So I brought him home. He died in 2013, I believe. I believe it was 2013. Anyway, it was a bad story.
I'm so sorry.
But anyway, I'm proud of my kids. They did well. They did well.
Well, what advice would you give to your grandchildren about how to live a good life? What advice would you give them?
Sorry?
What advice would you give your grandchildren about how to live a good life?
Oh, my grandchildren? Yes. Son's daughter, his only child, has a PhD in philosophy. She's been teaching overseas. She was in Japan recently teaching. She's a very talented and accomplished person. My great-grandchild, Eva, I haven't got to spend much time with her, but she's a sweetheart. Anyway, my other grandchildren, Hannah and Melanie, my daughter's kids. Hannah's a school teacher and she's going to school, I guess, again to be a counselor. She teaches at a school in Massachusetts, in Cambridge. It's a private high school. And Melanie works for a nonprofit in Rhode Island and is doing quite well. Unfortunately, they're both divorced. That it seems like it's a way of life now. My sister's son has never married. He's in his 50s, and she said, "Are you ever going to get married?" He said, "Look, if I'd been married, I'd probably be divorced twice by now." Anyway, and Melanie's children, Marshall and Quinn, are great kids. No, my grandkids are doing okay.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about that we might have forgotten to cover?
I don't know, how you put a life in an hour.
You don't.
Anyway, it's been a good life. I've enjoyed my life.
No nuggets of advice for somebody else who might be coming up, a young person coming up?
Oh my, yes, I could give them a lot of advice. They've probably already gotten all the advice I could give them. Work hard and save your money. Try to do something you enjoy doing. Be good people. Yeah, be good people.
Well, thank you, Ryle. Thank you for your time today.
Okay, thank you.